Now we're going to start our session on leadership by design. So this is the title for the WDO World Industrial Design Day. Let's talk leadership.
In the 50s, our world was a different place, with different problems, different challenges. The post-industrial world gave rise to social and economic progress, and urbanization changed patterns of consumption and fueled market globalization. Industrial design revolutionized consumer goods and became the symbol of modern progress. People everywhere welcomed more desirable products and better lifestyles. Fast forward 60 years, and our world faces a new set of challenges. Overconsumption has contributed to issues such as pollution, traffic congestion, the depletion of our natural resources, climate change, food and water shortages, as well as poor healthcare and sanitation. By 2050, more than 9.6 billion people will share our planet, creating even more pressure on cities and more demand for our precious resources. Just as our world has changed, so has the world of industrial design. It has evolved and is now a transdisciplinary profession that harnesses creativity to solve problems and improve people's quality of life. At the heart of it, industrial design provides a more optimistic way of looking at our world, a perspective where challenges are seen as opportunities. After all, through the eyes of design, there's the potential to unlock trillions of dollars in commercial return, social benefits, and environmental efficiencies. It's about the shift from what's the problem to what's possible. And designing a better world is possible if everyone in the global design community believes in this shared aspirational vision. Through collaboration, we can do more than just imagine a better world. We can make it a reality by leading the way and designing it. We've laid the groundwork with our international initiatives. World Design Capital, World Design Impact Prize, Interdesign, World Industrial Design Day, and our World Design Partner Program are already in place to showcase the problem-solving potential of design. By aligning our strengths, we can pave the way for an exciting new era for our industry. We can make design globally relevant, widely effective, and give it the power to transform lives. Through the lens of industrial design, the future is bright, but the time is now to put human needs above consumer demands and elevate design as a catalyst for positive change. Together, we can take industrial design to the next level. Together, we can design a better world.
Hello, bonjour. So my name is David Kusuma. I'm president of the WDO, the World Design Organization. I'm also senior vice president and head of product at a company called Oregon Tool that develops products for forestry and lawn and garden. So we're here today. I want to first begin by thanking Anne Asensio and also Dassault Systems, also Olivier Sapin, Catia's CEO, for inviting us to this incredible venue. Right now, we happen to be at the world headquarters of Dassault Systems, based in Paris, for what Anne has mentioned is the European zone. So today, the topic is about leadership in design and using design for developing a better world. You know, those of you who have been connected to WDO will know that the World Design Organization is really a network of global organizations and design associations. You know, and we focus very much on the UN SDGs, to give us guidance in terms of trying to solve for a better world. So when we think about leadership, what does that mean? What does designing for a better world mean? There are many examples I can give, but I'm going to focus on giving you 4 examples. The first one is technology. When we think about technology, design should play a role to really bridge the gap between R&D and technology so that we can make sure that technology provides maximum benefit and greater usability for people. Technology is all around us, of course. We've heard about how fast things are going. The speed of communication is going faster and faster. You've heard of 5G. You've heard of Wi-Fi 6. In fact, the industrial revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0, as it's sometimes called, has predicted that the changes in technology, the changes in manufacturing, and even the changes in society are just going to get faster and faster. And this is specifically because of our access to faster connectivity, but also because of our access to automation. And all of us have experienced automation just with the sound of our voice. We are now able to play our favorite music. We're able to turn on and off lights. And we're also able to even do our shopping. So technology is going to keep coming, and it's going to keep coming from everywhere at a faster and faster rate. The role for design is to make sure that technology can serve humankind in a better way. So this is really important. We shouldn't be ruled by technology. We should be able to transform it into something that is useful. The second thing is healthy living. It's really important when we think about it that people today, they want to live much more healthy and they want to be fit. A lot of this has to do with how we eat. A lot of it has to do also with how we take care of ourselves in terms of how we exercise or how we focus on our well-being. In fact, the Global Wellness Institute, they have predicted that, or they have estimated that the whole global health and wellness industry is about $3.5 trillion. About 3 times larger than the entire pharmaceutical industry. It's just really huge, And with that, if you want to talk about healthy living, we also have to make sure that, with aging populations in this world, people have to have good access to healthcare. And these days, a lot of people feel that they have limited access to healthcare. So design can play a big role in terms of developing solutions, both for wellness as well as for the aging population. The third thing is sustainability. So a lot of the topic of this conference today is on sustainability. One of my most focused areas of the UN SDGs is SDG number 12. So SDG number 12 talks about responsible consumption and responsible production. And it's one of the things that, it's one of the areas that I feel that we as designers, but also as consumers, have a real part to play in terms of having an important effect. It's important because when you think about, there is it's called the Global Footprint Network. They monitor the health of the planet in terms of our ability to recover from overproduction and overconsumption. And their news is that we are already in a dilemma. If we don't change our behaviors by the year 2050, then the Earth will really experience severe scarcity. Basically, we're going to need about 2.3 Earths to continue the rate of depletion of resources that we currently are experiencing. So very, very important. Quality of life doesn't mean anything if there's no planet left, right? So the time to act is now. The important part is that we all have to contribute to a world that we want to live in, both for ourselves and for our children. The fourth one is society. Design has a big role to play for the improvement of society. And one of the stories I want to give you is that within the WDO, we recently completed a project with the UN Women, the United Nations Women organization, where we focused on how do you use design to solve for violence against women and girls. And when you really think about it, this is not a type of problem that most people are used to thinking about with regards to how design can play a role. But what we found is that the more people realize the power of design, the more designers are going to be called to solve uncommon problems. So the UN Women actually, they were really happy with the results of this challenge that we had with them. To the degree that they've actually looked to raise money in order to make some of these concepts into reality, right? Because they really want to be able to give a real benefit back to the public. So this shows you that there is a good opportunity for design to play a role where we haven't been playing a role before. So those are the four things. There are many more examples, of course, but I'm going to leave that to the other speakers of today. What I want to do is I want to introduce next Bertrand Derome. So Bertrand is the managing director of the WDO, and he's going to be facilitating the next session. So, merci beaucoup, tout le monde. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Leadership by design. What a great theme to talk about the 65th anniversary of ICSID, the World Design Organization. 65 years of history where at the very beginning, leaders from different countries decided to get together to exchange on their practice, on how they were promoting design in their country and how they were trying to improve the profession. Professional association, promotional organization that got together to improve the world in that time. A couple of days ago, we were with a couple of board members in our archive in Brighton, exploring some of the origin of the organization, and it got us to reflect on how the issues we're facing right now already were starting to emerge all those years ago. Already, the profession wanted to improve the quality of life of our citizens. And we've done great good. We've allowed a lot of product to be available to more and more people. We've improved the quality of life and happiness, as it was called at some point. But at the same time, we're also part of some of the issues that we're now facing. Whether it's social, environmental, economic issues that some of our communities are facing, we are sometimes as much part of the problem as part of the solution. But clearly, the design community is now willing more than ever to be the solution for our future sustainability. And we decided today to explore the leadership that design needed to bring in this age of transition and explore it through the eyes and angles of our different pillars. So today we have four panelists with you to look at the lens that all those different pillars of professional organization, promotional organization, corporate members, educational members, but also our most recent pillar, the city pillar that joined the organization. So I will welcome now with me on stage our four panelists, starting with Thomas Garvey, our president-elect at the World Design Organization. Thomas has served already 2 terms with the organization, now president-elect, has dedicated a lot of his work towards youth involvement, always a promoter of engaging with youth and young designers to make sure that we hear their voice, we promote future leaders, and we get them involved in the organization. Also with us today, Sertaç Ersayin. Sertaç is treasurer of the World Design Organization and president of the Industrial Design Society of Turkey. Present in many networks and ecosystem, known around the world in many different communities, whether they are professional or governmental agency. Thank you for being with us today, Sertaç. Also with us today, Makiko Tsumura, with the Japan Institute for Design Promotion. Thank you, Makiko, for joining us. Makiko joined GIDP in 2010 and took a lot of passion in connecting the organization across the world through their Good Design Awards, and is now the director of GIDP since 2020. Thank you for being here. And finally, but not least, Luis Calabuig, representing our city pillar, because Luis is vice president of the Valencia World Design Capital Association. Luis was involved from the very first days of Valencia wanting to put forward a bid to become a world design capital, and is an advocate that design should be a contributor in many fields of our lives and our ecosystem, going from an administration and into tourism as well. So thank you all so much for joining us today for this panel discussion, and to explore how all those pillars of our great world design organization see and have a different vision of how design can be a leading force towards the future. So maybe to start with some of our founding pillars, which were originally professional organization and promotional organization as well. Maybe Sertaç, I would start with you to hear a little bit of your perspective on, and maybe we can start from where we come from and where it gets us actually and currently in terms of professional organization, their role, their presence in an ecosystem of design and society. But where do we come from in terms of structure of those organizations?
Okay, thank you, Bertrand. Thank you for the invitation. Transition is a process considering yesterday and tomorrow, and without forgetting today for me. So it's a kind of process that is developing in its own system and understanding, and I call this one as also as a change. So we are living in a ecosystem which is led us witnessing and facing a lot of changes in our ecosystem. So the professionals, designers are coming from that ecosystem, needs to be together and gather together. Why? Because I have another metaphor. I don't know whether Patrick is here or not. He said he is obsessed with the chair. I'm also obsessed with the chair, but my obsession is a different way. We love to sit on the chairs with a comfortable way on the 3 to 4 different legs. So it's there's a kind of similarity that technology, manufacturing, marketing, sales, export, R&D, design and innovation, and maybe purchasing, a lot of operational levels of and strategical levels of disciplines we are working with. So in order to be able to sit on this comfortable chair, we need 3, 2, or 4 of them, or any of them, to make it strong, to lead them, manage their own understanding of their disciplines. Maybe at least if one of them is broken, we cannot manage in a comfortable way, we can live and survive on the chair. But we need all of them in a comfortable way to serve, that let us to sit on this table. So leading in design and innovation within our system is enough and good for our maybe in our disciplines, but we need to talk to each other. So we need the success codes of all the disciplinaries to help to each other to be able to make our dreams real. That's one of the obsession of me as a designer and design professional. So when we look at our designers who are the members of our associations, locally and globally, I'm talking about all the professional pillars worldwide, we are looking for to define our disciplinaries and the problems that we are facing within our ecosystem. But let's remember the other also disciplinaries. For the transaction periods that I'm calling change is to also to change the collaboration strategies and the way of working together with the other disciplinaries. That's what I was suffering, and that what I'm also proposing to the audience to make it better. How we can make it? As I told to the audience here, without forgetting yesterday and tomorrow and considering today. That's it. So the transition means it's changing, but in a positive way or a negative way. We hopefully talk on all the ways that we are going in a positive way, but please don't forget that also the other potential problems. I mean, as a designers, we are using a lot of materials, sometimes without thinking and considering the potential bottlenecks that we are going to designing for the future generations. That's what we are all considering, but I need to underline it that we need to talk also on this. So the professional area and the companies, designers are trying to serve to those companies to make them happy. We do have a certain targets and marketing-wise segmentations and the user scenarios and others. So we are becoming like an ambassadors, natural ambassadors, who are defending the real needs of the market and the communities. These are tricky issues of our all designers who are in professional area that we have to defend to the investors and the industries. This is the honestly we need to double check all this. Maybe I can come back to your second round to talk.
And I hope we'll have the time to get back to the chair and see, because a chair can be very comfortable and very uncomfortable if one of the bars of the chair is not as strong as the other ones, then it can become a big issue. So maybe we can touch back to that point.
Maybe just 1 minute. Okay, I want to add. You don't need 4 legs or 4 wheels. Then it's a kind of metaphor. You know, you're on the one strong bar. They help each other. Materials, manufacturing, design, innovation. So this is the tricky issue. It's metaphorically used, but design is like seems sometimes small, but very strong. Metaphorically, it's not more than metaphorically. Wheel, if it makes a one turn, it lets the other giant wheels turn against industries, manufacturing, campuses, others.
And to find the right balance within our ecosystem. Very interesting. Thank you, Sertaç. Going to maybe our second founding pillar of ICSID back in 1957, the promotional organization. I'm curious to hear your perspective on the transition and evolution that we see in design currently.
Thank you, Bertrand. Because I'm working for Japan Institute of Design Promotion and that promotional member of WDO. And so I have many opportunities to talk with in-house designers of the major companies. And recently I hear almost the same opinion, same words from them that the skill set requires for designers are really changed recently, especially after this COVID thing. And so, because during the COVID time, they don't have any communication. So that's why. So they are very aware of the importance of the communication and collaboration of the internal communication, communication. And then, so design departments are very expected to do the kind of facilitator of the and connect the other departments, such as technology department and marketing and design. So to collaborate, those departments are very. Now companies are very aware that such collaboration is very important, and the facilitating role is really expected to the designers in the design department. So they Eray said that the skill set for designers, skill sets for designers are really changing. So maybe the education for designers should be changed. So yes, that is it.
Well, we might challenge Thomas on this shortly, but before that, maybe I think not every country has the opportunity to have a promotional organization that works for them. And I hear you're in Japan. They're lucky to have you to understand and take this knowledge and information. Now, can you talk about the role and the evolution of that role of promotional organization?
Yes. Yes. So, as many speakers already said, the definition of design has been expanding, really expanding. So now originally, design promotion organization has been established to promote the manufacturing industry and to increase the export sales by design. But now, the focus was mainly for product design. But now it covers also the kind of business model and project, and such a system is also design. And so definition of design is really expanding, but still the people is not so much aware that situation. So it's the ordinary people still think a design is just color and styling. So the role of design promotion organization is to people know the new role of design, and it covers the design is also itself. Design is innovation to sustainable to project, make it sustainable and continuous growth. So that is design. So design promotion organization's role is to enlighten such fact to the society, to the people. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned the expanding role of design and its involvement beyond products manufactured in our companies, and you mentioned systems. One of the greatest systems that has the most influence on our lives could probably be seen as the city. And I know it's been asked by some, why is it the World Design Organization, a body that was founded originally by industrial designers, designating world design capitals? But we see it more and more. Designers are involved at many levels, in service design, system designs, as you were mentioning, in policy making more and more. And maybe I jump to you, Louis, to try to understand and explore this role of design versus the city. What are we seeing, and what's the potential that design has there?
Exactly. Thank you, Bertrand, and thank you, Juan, by the way, for the initiative. Regarding city pillars, all the projects we run at the WDO, or the projects around design, like this, for example, starting with the design ecosystem, for sure. So, as you said, I've been involved with the World Design Capital Valencia from the beginning. So we learned that for sure we have to start, or the aim or the center of the project are the designers and the design community. Then we get involved the industry, and then for sure the administration. So we are doing that kind of shockwave, moving and doing bigger. But for me, the city pillar and that kind of project is to arrive to the society as soon as possible. So because usually the designers talk for designers. So there are some projects that in which we need to talk to the society, and for me, the World Design Capital is one big example of that, because it's not an event, or we don't understand like an event in itself. It's like a process. So we always say that in Valencia we start a process in 2016 when we start to think to be World Design Capital. At the beginning, this process has the design community very involved, but now the narrative about that is changing, and now we are talking with the society. So we need another media, we need another kind of events, we need another kind of presence of the city. So and I think this is the key, and this is the goal. Starting with the design community for sure, but arriving to the general society. So the approach is different.
And I think I can mention that we've seen this evolution and this engagement of the community in the years that brought us today this year actually to Valencia World Design Capital 2022. It was a years of process, engaging with stakeholders, policymakers, the community, and now citizens. And you have loads of programs happening throughout the year, so I would definitely encourage everyone to go and explore the calendar of events that is presented by WDC Valencia 2022. But you have a couple of signature events coming up that really do express how you do reach at the same time from the citizens up to the policymakers in some of your upcoming events.
Exactly. 2 weeks ago, it happened a signature event. It was a Valencia design experience. Mainly, it was for the design ecosystem because it was a week full of talks for international speakers, mainly talking about design, graphic design, new media, etc. But in September, we'll have another signature event. It's a street design festival. So in this event, we are talking more with the society because 2 weeks ago, if you are not designer, if you are not interested, you don't know that this is happening, because it's like this. It's super interesting, but if you are not interested, you don't know that this is happening. In September, we will have some windows during all the week and the city in which you can see product designs on the street. So this is the way we talk with the society. And then in November, we'll have the policy conference in which the interaction will be with the institutions. We'll have some majors from other cities that they will come to talk about the introduction of design like a key asset inside of the administration. So this is the different ways in which we communicate with every part of the society.
And we do appreciate that more and more policymakers are now understanding the potential design has for them. More and more cities and nations hiring chief design officers within their organization to help structure how they will leverage design in their community. But more and more, we also see them involved in designing policies as well and designing programs that in some cases are not at all related directly to design itself, but might be for health, security, well-being, transportation, and many different fields. So this change and evolution brings me to want to understand the challenge that might represent for an education institution to be facing all this evolution in the practice of design, those new fields that are opening. How are education institutions facing those changes that they're now facing? Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Bertrand. And it's a pleasure to be here, by the way, with everybody. After listening to my colleagues, I'm thinking my answers are so different now. And Makiko, you were absolutely correct when you said that in order to change design promotion, we need to change design education. So I want to go back just for a moment. Everybody in the world knows today, wherever you are, that design education is in crisis in a sense. In Europe, in the United States, there are programs everywhere urgently, passionately looking at the future of design education. So that's a standard. But to do that, to provide leadership, I think it's really important to understand what education is in the sense of the forces that it balances. And so I always try to think of a triangle of three. Whether you like it or not, most of us are within an institution, so it could be a university. So the university has its mandate, its goals, its purposes. Then you've got society or industry, in which the student is expected to enter and perform, and that's different. And then most importantly, I think, is the aspirations of that individual person. And so you're balancing these three forces all the time. What's really interesting now, and I have to go back, if you don't mind, going back to the panel discussion this morning with Anne and Patrick and Arthur, I think when Arthur said, if I may, I'm not a teacher, I'm a tutor. You support a plant, but a plant grows on its own. My analogy has always been, you don't teach a bird how to fly. You feed it, you protect it, and when it's ready, it gets up and goes. So the exciting thing about that is that one piece, that aspiration of the young student, is the one that's changing the most. Every young person in universities or in schools want to contribute to society, but it's the design student has chosen to contribute through design. And that's such a unique thing there. So in terms of leadership, I think we need to move much more quickly to recognizing that variety of aspiration, the variety, of course, the university regulations, the institutional regulations, the accreditation, the grading, the evaluation, all the stuff we don't like to do, we'll need to continue to do. And the other part about, if I could say one more thing about the student being expected to enter and perform in industry, yes, we need to prepare them enough to be capable to perform, but not to fit industry. If we train them to fit industry, we're going to get the same thing. So they need to be capable enough to perform while being flexible enough to change industry from within, because they are industry. The young person becomes industry. So.
Well, thank you. That's inspiring, and I would be curious to see if their answer would change, hearing your answer as well. But I don't want to go to your closing words before mentioning that we will be in Tokyo in 2023, and I'd like Makiko to tell us a little bit about the next opportunity that the global design community will have to regroup itself and think and look to where we will take our leadership by design initiatives.
Yeah. Thank you, Bertrand. So I'm very honored and excited to say that the next World Design Assembly 2023 will be held in Tokyo, and the theme of the WDA is Design Beyond. So that is that means that so after or within the such turmoil and the time of turmoil and change, so design should what design should aim for, or what direction design should take. That is the contents of the theme. Yeah. So we are very excited to talk and think about that theme, and we are now planning the exciting speakers for that conference. So the dates is October 27 to 29, the 3 days in 2023. So please ensure to book the dates. So the day one would be the Research and Design Education Forum, and that is mainly for students in education sectors. And day two will be the design conference, which we will invite the speakers, and maybe we will have some breakout sessions on the day. On the second day too, and day three will be a general assembly for WDO members. So please ensure to come. And that event would be mainly focused on the in-person event, because we do some on-demand. We will release some on-demand contents afterward, but mainly in-person and live events in person. So please ensure to come to Tokyo next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Makiko. We're definitely looking forward to being in person in Tokyo. So mark out your agendas for October 27 to 29, 2023. It will be very inspiring. Already the theme, Beyond Design, is very inspiring. So we'll look forward to that, certainly. So now maybe since we have about 30 seconds each for a closing remarks, and I'm curious to hear about your aspiration in terms of leadership and where we would like to take the design community further, or how the design community can make our world come further for the future. So who would like to jump in with one closing remark? Sertaç, please.
I have just a couple of seconds. Let's design for a better world. Let's change for a better world. Let's do all of these issues in a collaborative way. So I believe that we can do it and we can make it together. Thank you, Bertrand.
Thank you, Sertaç.
I'd say we're not teaching content anymore. We're teaching how to ask the right questions. And so whereas 20 years ago I would have come into a classroom to teach something, today I walk into a classroom to say, how can I help you get the answers to what you need to know?
So design is the expense is not a cost, but investment for the branding and the innovation. So design promotion organization should promote such fact for the society.
Thank you, Makiko.
Thank you, Thomas. I like very much your reflection. I will take note. For me, in that moment, I see design like a process, like a co-creation, like a something to add people, and talking about leadership. I'm talking about leadership, but not for one people. Before the speaker talked about that kind of teaching leadership to find more leaders. I think this is the thing we have to have in mind, no? Co-creation and to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been inspiring, and it makes me think of also some of our stakeholders that are dreaming to use design as an education tool way beyond the design field. If we taught our youth by design, instead of teaching them the solution or the answers we think are right, we will probably have better citizens in the future also. So thank you very much for these different perspectives on leadership by design. We are definitely right on time. So we really appreciate your contribution. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Bertrand. Thank you for this very insightful moment about design and leadership. So we start to have quite an interesting view about, how we can leverage the design skills when it comes to new leadership and to tackle those transitions. So our second panel will be just continuing this deep dive, and more specifically on turning this subject around. If designers are capable to actually activate their skills to actually address those transitions, how we can make people, actual leaders, other members of other communities, believe that the designers may be possible leaders for the future. So welcome on stage Meghan Preiss. Sorry for the pronunciation. Hi, Meghan. Meghan. Monica Kunz-McKenzie from MacArthur. Hello, Monica. Nice to see you. And Aisha Birsel from New York. So Aisha, maybe you should go over there. Bonjour, bonjour. So it's exactly like the same in previous panel, we all know each other, so we're not going to make like we don't know each other, that will look odd. But the people here in the audience does not know you, so I will introduce you with very little words. So, okay, I got Monica nearby me, so I'm going to start with you. So Monica works on professional development, learning on the circular economy across learning and business team at MacArthur. True? No? Yes.
Teams.
No, you're not?
I changed teams, but it's okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
I get the wrong bio?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
great.
updated. Never mind.
Oh,
I'll update it.
okay.
Carry on. Carry on from here.
From here.
No, from this
Okay.
is really old.
Okay.
From here.
Anyway, Monica, she's a great lady. She's basically aiming to change. Actually, all of those ladies here are on. And I would, hey, maybe I get some more here. No? Okay.
Organic introduction.
No, what is interesting about Monica, she's actually hold a degree in the University of Bonn. She studies sociology, so quite interesting, cultural anthropology, and archaeology. Just quite interesting, okay? And prior to Ellen MacArthur, she actually also very much, engaged in other work, like working at LEAD International, where you manage a program, a flagship called Leading for Sustainability. Not a big thing, just little, just nothing. And she also working for future consideration. So you almost like an activist, right? Yeah, I knew that. Well, we have a lot of activists here. Okay, we will know more about you because that's going to be the next question. Meghan, I'm so honored to have you here. Meghan, she's the youngest WDO members ever, and she's a woman, so she's been elected for this 2021-23 term, and I really think that this is really an achievement. And I think this is really reflecting your personality and your dedication to change by design many things, the all of what we were talking about. You are really devoted. You also were previously very active, and I'm sure you still are, at the Industrial Design Society of America. Chief design also, to name a few. You graduate from the Savannah College of Art and Design, and you worked in before you were working to, probably people know this, RKS. It's a design agency in the US, and so in another company that I know very well, the Ford Motor Company in the Innovation Lab. And today, and this is very fresh, just brand new, you just joined the IBM iX team, working as a lead business and service designer. So, welcome, Meghan. And the last one, Ayşe, we are friends for so long. She's born in Turkey. She's an industrial designer. She worked at Herman Miller. She's very focused in the workspace and understanding really the social interaction of people. But more interestingly, trying to understand, not just how design can change the world, but how design is actually an action for changing the life of people who change the world. So kind of an interesting discussion we may have. You live in New York, and you actually spend your time in many different countries. You are a citizen of the world, I would say. And you also, and this is not a little thing either, Fast Company, 100 most creative people. So that's, and many other things. You are a tech talk speaker. So very, I would say important person, because we need people like you, ladies, to basically change the world. We need people who are this engagement. So the reason I wanted to have you, three of you, is because it comes like a clear, obvious thing that designers may be an agent of change with their skills, with their way of thinking. We were discussing that earlier. The question that I have, it's a burning question. I keep thinking, where we will educate maybe designers more like leaders. That may be just an option. We discussed that. My question, and we'll start with you, Monica, by first starting by presenting what you do at Ellen MacArthur with the Circular Design Circle, and then answer that question, but that gives you time for you. What can we do to make people think that designers are leaders, natural leaders, and they may be basically better place in boardroom, in government, in place where we are making the decision for the future? Because if they are thinking right, why they are not at the cenacle of power? So let's start with you, Monica.
Yeah, so
you probably need the mic.
right. So I'm with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation now for a number of years, and worked there as a senior design and innovation manager. But have come initially from working more in the sort of professional development realm with some of our bigger corporates as strategic partners, such as Derome or Unilever. And so when I joined the foundation, in terms, you mentioned some of the background, the Leading for Sustainability program, which was a 6-month program bringing different sectors together, different players from, might have somebody from Shell next to somebody from the Ministry of Environment in Mexico. So, multi sectors, multi cultures, and they came together for an intense sort of learning experience, which was very hands-on, very experiential, like going into the field, so to speak, and working with the players of the system to change the system, the real world, exactly, which is, I think, one of the great things that designers also do a lot, which I come to later to your second question. And anyway, so eventually when I joined the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and Joe, my colleague, is going to say more about what the foundation does in an hour, so I'm going to skip that now. I worked initially in working with those corporates in our network in how to create more effective learning pathways, etc. But what really was itching me and where my passion was lying was also, okay, how can we actually help them come together and create the solutions together? So bring the diversity into the space of prototyping the future in a way, but have the right people in the room to do that. And that's what then eventually last year we got to trial a pilot exactly on that, a circular economy innovation program, a sprint that piloted that, and it went really well. And so that's where I suppose with that head in the design team, I carry that on to see, okay, how can we do that now going forward, and working now more recently with what Anne mentioned as the circular design leaders, and it's a group of informal and formal leaders in design from those large corporates to meet regularly and to have these conversations about how do we advance the circular design agenda in our companies, but also how can we be a voice within the wider EMF network, so the Ellen MacArthur Foundation network, and beyond. And in some way also we're working on the project now on another sprint this autumn on looking into prototyping that future. So envisioning that, we already started on that journey, and wanting to develop some artifacts to bring that to life, to make it tangible, which is pretty much leading me to the last question you're asking around how can designers play a role and how can there be more leadership be brought to the designers. And I think it's that when I thought about that, I felt like the whole book could be written about it, because there's so much to say around designers bringing that, the design thinking, the tools to when I'm thinking where we're at in the times we're living, we need those positive stories of what the future could look like and make them visible and in some way help people understand that, we don't know for sure what it's going to look like, but having designers take us through processes, or going themselves through processes where they prototype ideas, and through them being able to tell these stories in a much more tangible way, can give that sort of, that hope, that kind of different ideas, and bring them to life. And I think that's really powerful. And the other thing is they engage with so many different groups. They are actually bringing these different perspectives together and again, bringing voice to them where usually there's no hearing for that. And so there's a lot of these different elements in terms of in the design toolkit that designers have, that naturally if they then step into their own leadership to really bring that further into their own context, whether it's in a big company or into their communities, they can, just make stuff happen.
There are a simple statement that just come to my mind listening to you, is in the past a leader, he was giving order and they were executed, but is that leader when he was making that order, make it very simple and caricatural to make it very clear, he was not really looking at what may be the impact in a large systemic scope. When designers does exactly the same thing, he's thinking about this systemic approach. He's looking at any aspect of what it would be happening if something wrong may happen. Designers will have this systemic experience being visualized, even if he's just working in a very, very small part of the project. And what is really clear, it's a total change in perspective. It's a two different type of leadership in some ways. So the question is, don't you think there would be some reluctance to actually shift from that traditional linear way of executing order, someone who knows, who gives the orders, and the others just executing, versus let's encourage that co-creation that is a typical and easy way for designers to act?
Well,
Because I know you kind of reluctant to talk about the circular principle, but this is really what you have done, you know, the principle of circular design being applied in a way that is not just for the designers because they use it every day, but for everyone.
yeah, well, I think it's also about what we define as leadership, right? And I think there might be sort of that image of that hero leader somewhere on a pedestal, or that has all these amazing superpowers, and you know, maybe charismatic speaker on stage. And I think, and you know, everybody's then following that leader who knows what to do. It's a bit of like, that might be top down because of a title in a company. It might be because they're an expert on something and he knows what to do. But I think these sort of ideas, they're crumbling, and they're a bit old-fashioned almost.
Voilà.
And you need to so leadership can come from anywhere, and it's really that stepping into your own power of what is it that you truly believe in and follow, and, you know, like doing what you're saying and taking, we heard care, we heard listening, you know, caring for the world, for your environment. There's something about taking responsibility, developing that own agency, and stepping into something that you can create. And so anybody can take that on, really.
So that's exactly, I'm going to turn now to Aisha, because I'm sorry, Meghan, but you were talking about, you know, this belief that is crumbling, you know, that superheroes are leaders that's going to lead us to a better future. When in reality, we may be those heroes, but we just need to know. And Aisha, you have developed over your pretty much your lifetime, you know, you are basically developing this thinking about how I can use my design approach to actually not change the way of my environment, but actually change the way people are actually doing design, how they change themselves by design. And that may be another concept of leadership.
Yes. This
So
works,
tell
right?
a little bit who you are first.
So wait, when you said superpowers, Anne looked
Yeah,
at me because
we may basically
we
get into it.
just did a session together where I ask people to think about their superpowers, but then also their kryptonite, because they go both, now this is better, both hand in hand. So, well, you and, you know, the most important thing to me here today is I'm one of your old friends. So, and so before I talk about what I do, I just was thinking about what you said about leadership, and in terms of making futures visible. And I thought leadership is, what makes a difference is making leadership visible. So Anne, I'm going to, you introduced us, but I'm going to put you on the spot as well, if I may, for a second.
Yeah, that was not planned.
I know, it's not planned, but just watching you over the years and these last 2 days, I think that you are a living, walking example of leadership. And what you inspire me, and what I love about you is you're not afraid of anything. You know, you are somebody, and you all agree, right? Have you seen Anne afraid?
Actually, I'm not afraid of my boss.
And when there's something that's hard that needs to be tackled, you're going to go for it. And yes, yesterday you gave me a good lesson, and you said, when somebody tells you no, you don't hear them. I mean, that's a beautiful leadership quality, not to hear no, and then turn that into a yes, and to give hope and optimism. So, and I think people like you and people like you and people like us, we make leadership visible So years ago, we did a project with GE about value of design. And if you know my work, I love to deconstruct and reconstruct everything. And so they asked me and my team to deconstruct value of design across 5 of their most successful businesses. And what we learned is for companies to value design, they needed to be touched by design. If they worked with designers the way you're supposed to work with designers, they loved it. And once they tried it, they couldn't go back. And to your question about like, how can we have design at the table, at boardrooms, at, be decision makers, I think it's by...
You have to touch people.
By all of us stepping up to that opportunity, take our positions, become visible, and then when corporations are touched by design leaders at the highest levels, they'll get hooked. And they do get hooked, So that wasn't really your question, but...
No, but that just reminds me something that touched me a lot about what you are demonstrating is the fact that wherever designers are doing something, they are not doing for themselves. They are always in this caring approach of doing it for someone else. But that may be leadership. But something that is very important is they are checking. They are checking if what they have done for someone else is actually really delivering what they were expecting you would deliver. This question of the reception of the intent of what they wanted to do. It's not about just doing a beautiful thing. It's making sure everybody feel or touch this experience as something is beautiful. And that's quite another level than what people just basically place design. They do beautiful things, but touching people is a much, much broader exercise. Meghan, in your work, you're going to be now at IBM. I don't know if you already started or not. You're going to be basically able to touch people and make them understanding, the value of design, to embrace some of the most important challenges, because you work in a very big company, working on transformation for their customers. So how you do it and what this question of leadership means to you.
Yeah, so I want to go back first
please.
My time at Ford.
Nobody's following the plan, so you can go.
Well, because it aligns to
we are designers, so
a lot of what we've been talking about up here. And at Ford, our previous CEO was a designer. Came from Steelcase, and Jim Hackett was a designer. So Ford really started to believe and touch every part of an automotive industry with design. And so
with a design mindset.
With the design mindset. And so what was really empowering working for such a large company was every time we walked into a boardroom, our first question was, who's the user? Who's the person that's using this? And a lot of the pushback that we would give was, you can throw an infinite amount of money at something. We can definitely make something work feasibly or technology. You can't guarantee someone's going to use it unless you talk to a person, unless you know what they desire, what their opportunities are. And so designers really were able to bring that aspect, because we don't work in a world where if you build it, people are going to come, because it doesn't work. And so now working at IBM, it's really interesting because I'm on the consulting side of things within the design organization of IBM, bringing design thinking to other companies that don't necessarily have it. And although I'm new, I'm definitely only 2 months in, a lot of what I'm working on now is bringing design to our public policies, working with education boards, working with governments, our COVID response teams, to have them think about the user, about the people that are going through these systems, and not only the people who are going through the systems, but the people who are providing the system. So it's the front end and the back end users, and really understanding how we can empathize with everyone. And I think that's why, I think you mentioned it, why designers belong in our boardrooms, in our C-suites, because we never think about ourselves. Everything that we're taught from the very
good point. Yeah.
From the very beginning of our schooling is to understand, do research, who's the customer, who's the target audience, and that's just embedded into everything that we do. And so, not to say that others don't, but our first instinct is to think of others. And so that's what makes us really powerful in that C-suite, in that boardroom, as designers.
So who should, that's very nice talks, very, very, very profound, because you are mentioning something that I realize every day. We do everything for everyone and we last in a row. That's definitely probably the reason, because the regime and the way we are basically acting in the current world is that kind of values. But that's what we want to change, right? So how to change the value of our world to make basically the designers that doesn't think for themselves or their way of doing the things and putting the user, the passion, the citizen, the human up front, how we can change such a society. No,
I have an idea about that.
But go ahead.
And that is, you know, my goal is to teach everyone and anyone from 10 to 90 how to design their life. But the hidden goal behind that is to think everyone, to help everyone to think like a designer, using our life as our biggest project. And I feel that if we can do that, then everyone becomes capable of thinking like a designer, and so we win them from the inside. And because life is a design project, it's the most complex design project imaginable, and because anyone can actually design it, this is an attainable goal. And but really the key is, to your point, design is about thinking of others. But in this case, it's you start with yourself first, and then you think creatively about your life, and then from that you can influence your family, you can influence your work community, you can influence your neighborhood, your world, and it grows out from you. And so I try to get people to give themselves permission to
work on themselves.
To work on themselves. And yesterday we were talking about this, is that what I love about Design the Life You Love is because it's pure design. It's you, your life, and the design process. And there's no intermediary of anything else. And to see how extraordinarily creative people are, to, once they have a process, to think about their life and their challenges. So anyways.
So no, but it's not an idea. You basically have that kind of insight, and you are basically offering a journey for designers to become leaders by first starting by considering themselves, their strength, their superpower, not to just be considered like that, but really looking at knowing themselves to be able to actually be much more, I will say, effective, even if I don't like that word, with the relationship with others in the way they are questioning with others. Okay, go ahead. And then I will go to Monica, because I really would like to go into this exercise that we are doing with the circular design leaders, trying to actually also find some new avenues for deciphering what it takes to be a great leaders with what we know and what we need with the world is coming. But you have another thought.
Yes. So I love the idea of designing yourself, and I love the idea of looking inward. I also want to add that we need to start enabling people to do that sooner, and starting with
like a young
leaders,
yes,
and bringing them up and showing them that they have a power, they have a voice in design. And yes, they might be a junior designer at a company, but they can present to the CEO and to the C-suite and represent design, because the next generations are our dreamers. And we are the people in this room who can produce that design, but we still need that generation to not come in with the bias or the grudge that we might have around just knowing what's feasible, what is business, what is needed. They can dream, and then we can help them create it, but we need to instill in them this power that they are leaders.
So you walk your talk, because you now, at the World Design Organization, she's responsible of the young designer circle. But so she's not only the younger board member the WDO have ever had, but she took over an initiative that was made by Gilles Rougon and I forgot the other guy, but Chris Band. And now you're responsible. And how many young design leaders that you...
So we have 21 young design leaders.
From all over the world?
All from 19 different countries, all under the age of 30.
Incredible. So you imagine this is really important that in the past, you become a leader because you get old. That's wrong, completely wrong. Especially now, we need urgently new thinking, engagement, motivation, and people who, if they don't have experience, they just have the skills to actually navigate the unknown. And that's exactly what we need. So this is a new initiative, and I'm so glad that you are taking it. And you did great. I mean, you pick it up so quickly, so it's very nice.
I tried.
Back to you, Monica. We can see we have two great ideas already, you know. At the World Design Organization, we have those circles, but with the Ellen MacArthur. The question is getting a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. Why? Because what we want to tackle is a society at large. Mm-hmm. It's the world, it's the planet, it's our planet. So how we can deconstruct and reconstruct our planet by design in some ways, and make people, whatever, any brands, because I know you have done that. There are many initiatives where you have taking a brand or a company or an industry and do exactly the exercise. Design the company you love, kind of. That means a company that will be completely transformed from the inside out to actually being not just more sustainable, but just being the company of the future. So please,
in like half a
you
minute.
have and the project that on education.
So So I read something a couple of days ago. Revisited one of my favorite books, and he was talking there about the economy that we are living in today is designed by minds of, I don't know, hundreds of years ago, and we're still sort of experiencing that. And there's something about the mindset, the importance of, what's creating our kind of the conditions we live in. And that mindset is also true for the designer. And that might be limiting or it might be empowering. So with coming into this, I don't know how you specific want to be what we're doing, but on a more general term, right? If you are bringing those design leaders with the experience, the wealth of experience they have, not just personal, but also what they've seen in their design teams or the organizational challenges that they see, but also the opportunities, etc., is less about the skills they bring, but I think is more profoundly the mindsets they bring, and how can you. So the question we asked ourselves was, in that last meeting we had, is sort of what would a living organism, what would it be like if an organization or company would be like a living organism in an ecosystem, or like bring more a regenerative mindset. And with that, what could we then potentially design from there in terms of prototypes for the future? So I think starting at a different place to arrive somewhere more powerful.
Excellent, Monica. So from now on, I would love to take some questions from the room. We have great women designers on stage. This, by the way, something I absolutely wanted to make sure we have a panel of only women. Any question from the room? I see yes, but where are the hostess with the microphone? Okay, so it's great. We have a speaker. Okay, go ahead. We try to...
Thank you very much. My name is Isaac. I work for CY School of Design. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we're very involved in helping young students grow and become global designers. So I have a question with regards to the idea of design your life. And in somebody's life, where is the prototyping phase?
That's a good one.
That's a great. That's a great question. I think the prototyping space or phase is all our life, right? we're constantly prototyping our life, and every day is a new test. So the piece that maybe is missing is often that prototype happens without much intention. And in getting people to design their life, I try to do two things. One is, instead of your life coming at you, for you to go towards that life with intention and with a vision. And really that vision is built on your values. So in a way, designing your life is designing a life that's built on your values, that brings those to life. And then once you have an idea about that, people are excited, just like us designers, we get excited by ideas, and then we want to prototype them and test them. And then they go about prototyping and testing and bringing collaborators in. All of those things become true in your life as well. So it's constant prototyping, failing and learning, just like in design.
Thank you. I have to interrupt this panel. We're almost done. Could you believe it? No, because this is what it's happening. No. Actually, we were basically. It's time for the little break. It's a little goûter. It's about. Thank you for our panel, but for some of you who have burning questions, we will be just all together having a goûter close to the playground. Don't hesitate also to visit the installation from Arthur on the first floor, and also Patrick Join prototype chair. And if you have more questions for our invité, please do so with a cup of coffee or a drink. So 20-minute break, and we come back here. Thank you.
For joining us live from the Dassault Systems campus in Paris. What a great opportunity for us to hear our WDO board members who are gathered there today.